The Buffalo Bills get a huge win and perhaps most importantly, stave off the catastrophe that would have been another defeat to the New England Patriots off the back of a huge Josh Allen win. What does it mean for them? What does it mean for him? Are they back in business and are they one of the best teams in the NFL? Sam Monson here, joined by Austin Gayle today because Mr. Palazzolo is in a minivan for about 16 hours. So what do you make of that big victory, Austin?
I thought you were going to wait. What do you make of that trip? 16-hour van ride sounds absolutely horrendous. No, big win. And I think this is the high side. I think I'm stealing a phrase from Eric Eager, but the high side of variance with Josh Allen and 90.7 PFF grade in this one. This is the high end of the roller coaster, right? And people don't want to admit Josh Allen is a roller coaster. He's not Jameis Winston levels, but this is the Josh Allen you get with where he wins. He wins under pressure. He wins out of structure. He can run the football. He's not last year was a little bit of an anomaly in how consistent he was from a clean pocket in these things. This year has not been as good from a clean pocket. I think he has 11 turnover-worthy plays and 19 big-time throws from a clean pocket this year, but he's won under pressure. He's a top 4 graded passer under pressure this season. And he's been under pressure on more than 15 dropbacks in each of the last 5 games. This Buffalo Bills offensive line has not played well. I think they saw Darrell Williams go down in this game with an Achilles injury that led to more pressure. But when Josh Allen is cooking under pressure, admittedly volatile, this is what it looks like. 90-plus grade, freaking underhand tosses to Stephon Diggs. I mean, it looks sexy. It looks awesome. This is how the Bills win this high side of variance. Now, you need consistency to win deep in the postseason at the quarterback position from a clean pocket. Will they get that? We will see, but this is enough, and I'm willing to bet on this Josh Allen that is under pressure, that is winning outside of structure. With Brian Dable pairing this up, this Bills team is legit.
Yeah, it's interesting. There aren't many teams that have more on the plate of the quarterback than the Bills have put on Josh Allen's shoulders. They've got this amazing quarterback. They've given him the huge contract, and they're basically saying, you're going to justify it. This is your team. We have built this entire thing for you to be great. So go and do it. And this was the game he did, right? He went out there and not just played fantastically, 4 big time throws, 1 turnover worthy play, which unfortunately could have been game defining, right? Straight to JC Jackson on what was one of the most important drives of the game. If Jackson brings that in, we may be talking about a completely different outcome, a completely different game, but he got away with it. He got away with that play. And from that moment on, every key point on that drive, Josh Allen gets the 4th and 1 against an unblocked linebacker. Josh Allen picks it up again to Stephon Diggs. He came up huge in the most important moments in that game. And that's what they need him to do because the whole thing is on his shoulders.
I think Diggs should get brought up as well, right? Diggs has been phenomenal for this team, and him and Allen working in this outside of structure thing, it takes 2 to tango. Allen is obviously phenomenal. We want to give credit to the quarterback. It drives a lot of this, but Diggs freelancing a bit and reacting to how Allen is reacting is massive for them picking up these critical downs. And what's wild about the Jackson thing is Jackson's one of the more sure-handed defensive backs in the NFL. I was surprised to see that to hit the turf, right? He has obviously a lot of interceptions in his career. I also feel that this Buffalo Bills team, I said this on the Tailgate podcast today, Brenner laughed at me, I think is comfortably the number 2 team in the AFC. I feel good about that. I think the Patriots are falling off. Mac Jones ranks 26th in PFF grade over the last 5 weeks. He is falling off. I think you look at Tennessee Titans can't stay healthy. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Indianapolis Colts. If I'm going to bet on a volatile quarterback, it's not going to be Carson Wentz, okay? It's going to be Josh Allen. So I am betting on Josh Allen being the second best quarterback in the AFC, and I don't think that's crazy. Chargers might miss the playoffs. Chris Harris Jr. and Nasir Adderley on the COVID list this week. Raiders just added a bunch of people on the COVID list this week. The Bills can avoid that, stay healthy. Josh Allen, importantly, I think this is the second best team in the AFC.
Wow. All right, we'll put a pin in that because I want to come back to that. But first, we've got to hit the ad read. The NFL season is winding down. The playoffs will be here before you know it. And at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, the offers are getting even more amazing. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Don't miss out on this action. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still be part of the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy football contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet just $5 on any NFL team and win $200 in free bets if they're victorious. That's promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. The teams are interesting because however they sort of match up in abstract terms, on a neutral field and whatever, does it not feel, though, that Buffalo matches up badly with a lot of these teams? Like, we already saw what the Indianapolis Colts did to them in terms of just controlling them, imposing their will physically, running the hell all over them, essentially. New England did it once in bad weather, when they didn't have to use Mac Jones at all. They had some success on the ground in this game as well. Mac Jones had a bad game, probably as bad as you're going to see from him. The Tennessee Titans, when they get A.J. Brown back, maybe or maybe not Julio Jones being a factor, but they can still run the ball even without Derrick Henry. All of a sudden, like most of the teams in the AFC seem kind of constructed to actually go well against Buffalo. It's like they've built this team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And while that's all well and good, you might need to get through a couple of teams that you don't match up well against to even get to the Chiefs.
No, I think that's a good point. I think it's also important to remember that on the season, this Bills defense does rank first in EPA per play allowed. It has been the most efficient defense so far this year, right? But you look over the past few weeks, I think they've ranked outside the top 15 in EPA allowed per rush. Like, their run defense does not match up well. And if Derrick Henry does get back healthy and Jonathan Taylor continues to roll, more importantly, the Colts are down 4 starters along the offensive line. They need to get better on the offensive line. The Cardinals' hapless run defense actually shut them down pretty well. But if the Colts get healthy, I think it is dangerous, right? But what they need to respond to that, in my opinion, we've seen the Patriots obviously in that snowball control the game, and Jonathan Taylor is having an MVP season and continue that against the Bills, is if they can get this Josh Allen, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if Josh Allen plays as well as he does. And you think about those teams they don't match up as well against. Ryan Tannehill has played well from a clean pocket, but isn't the quarterback that Josh Allen is. And Carson Wentz is trash. Carson Wentz has not played well this year. And when you've seen good Carson Wentz, it hasn't been good games. It's been good drives, right? Or good throws even. You go back to this game with the Indianapolis Colts that they won over San Francisco, I believe. Or no, who was it they just beat? I'm losing it. Arizona, yeah, just beat the Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Taylor was bottled up. This Colts offensive line was bad, and they only scored 17 points in this game. But all they needed was Carson Wentz to come down on this drive, hit that nice pass to Doolin, and then Desmond Patton at the back of the end zone on a key critical down. That's what Wentz needs to be to lift this Colts team over bad offenses, which that's what the Cardinals team was. They only scored 13 points. Buffalo needs good Josh Allen to beat up on some teams that they don't match up well against. But I think they will get good Josh Allen more often than they don't.
Yeah, and good Josh Allen helps them overcome injuries on that offensive line, which could be a huge problem for them. And not just them, but anybody. The Colts this season have gone very closely connected to how that offensive line has been healthy. That's why this Arizona game was actually a pretty big win for them, because their offensive line was banged up, and Julian Davenport was playing again, and that's usually curtains for your offensive line, just immediate pressure, immediate disaster. But it actually held up okay. And Carson Wentz, had a reasonable game. The other thing is, do you think that, so we're now 1-1, right? The New England Patriots got the game. The Buffalo Bills got the game. If they meet again in the playoffs, who are you backing?
I think I am backing Buffalo. I do feel good about Josh Allen. Now, Indy in that game, right? They held up well. They only scored 17 points. And right. Jonathan Taylor, if you take away that 43-yard rush he had early in the game, he averaged 2 yards per carry. If that offensive line doesn't get healthy in a hurry, it's bad news bears. And Carson Wentz held up okay in that he didn't throw the game away. But that last drive was everything. And I think you even saw Frank Reich, head coach of the Colts, say, hey, we don't need Wentz to be superhuman. We don't need him to throw for 500 yards. We just need him to show up in these clutch moments. And he did. And that's the Wentz football you ask for, right? We know Carson Wentz, down to down, isn't Drew Brees. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Mahomes. He's not a top 5, top 6 quarterback. But what he can do, because he's got this rocket arm and he can play well under pressure at times, he can put together these volatile lightning in a bottle drives. That's all the Indianapolis Colts need the few times they're trailing in games or need a big drive. Now, if their offensive line is healthy, they're banking on Taylor just running over everybody and never needing him to do that. But if they can just do it a couple times, they are dangerous. However, better quarterback, Josh Allen, and a defense that I think will improve and continues to be a top defense in the NFL. I like Buffalo.
Yeah, I think this game really showed that Buffalo's ceiling is still as good as anybody in the NFL. Like, they are still capable of beating any of these teams. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean if they run up against the Patriots again or the Indianapolis Colts or the Tennessee Titans or any of these teams that they're not still going to struggle to avoid the kind of game that they had the first time against the Patriots or the Indianapolis game. But we've seen they're at least capable of going toe-to-toe with anybody. And obviously their intention is to get to that AFC Championship game and beat the Chiefs this time. So we'll see if it pans out. A huge statement game for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, who are still right back in the mix for that elusive Super Bowl. That's it for me in Austin. It's been the PFF NFL